Hey you guys, um, this week we will be talking about cellular respiration and comparing it to photosynthesis. Um, the week before Christmas break, we talked about photosynthesis. That's how plants make their food and create energy for themselves. So now we're going to talk about cellular respiration, which is what we do, or what animals do as well. Some things that you'll see is Earth's energy budget. So we'll be talking about the energy that comes into the Earth and goes out of the Earth, kind of like a budget with money. Cellular energy, which is called ATP. Mitochondria, solar energy, chloroplast, chlorophyll, photosynthesis versus cellular respiration, and photosynthesis in life. So cellular respiration is we breathe out carbon dioxide. Glucose is broken down into water and carbon dioxide, creating ATP. So when we eat food, which has the glucose and the sugar in it, we break it down into three categories: carbon dioxide, energy that we use, which is called ATP, and water. The carbon dioxide is moved to the lungs via the blood, and we exhale it. So Earth, as a energy budget, we have incoming solar energy from the sun. It's 100%. 51%, so a little bit over the half, is but 51% is absorbed by the land and ocean. Some of it is just reflected by the atmosphere before it even hits the Earth. Some are reflected by the clouds. Some are reflected from the Earth's surface. So 6%, 20%, 4%. So about 30% is reflected back out. Some is absorbed by the atmosphere and absorbed by the clouds and the conduction of air, which is the rising and like the heating and cooling of the air. And then we have about 64% and 6% that is radiated directly to space from Earth, radiation absorbed by the atmosphere, and carried to clouds and atmosphere by latent heat and water vapor, which is 23%. So this is kind of gives you an idea of the incoming energy and the outgoing and what's absorbed throughout the Earth. So just real quick, 30% reflected by clouds or Earth surfaces, 19% absorbed by atmosphere and clouds, 0.023% is absorbed by plants. So even though plants use it to survive, very little of the energy from the sun is absorbed by the plants. So cell currency, if we talk about it like money, currency equals the energy and ATP, and we use currency, money, every day in order to do things like buy food. So cells use their currency or their energy to perform thousands of chemical reactions every second to keep them alive. So they absorb that energy from the food that we eat to carry out their tasks that they do every day, to keep us alive and to keep the cells alive. So ATP, or energy, is, in order to keep the cell alive, it must perform thousands of reactions every second. Every reaction that the cell does needs energy. ATP is created during cellular respiration inside the mitochondria. So the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell we talked about, and it creates the energy, is where the glucose goes and is broken down to give that cell the ATP. And then it's the waste that's produced, like carbon dioxide, is then filtered back out into the bloodstream. So cellular respiration, like I said, is the process where sugar is converted into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. The organisms use this energy to do everything. It occurs in the mitochondria. So if you look at the equation for cellular respiration, you take in sugar, which is from your food. We breathe in oxygen. That is your reactants. Then on the product side, we breathe out carbon dioxide, our body takes in water, and our cells use the energy that's created. So the mitochondria, which we said was the powerhouse of the cell, cells that use a lot of energy have more mitochondria. So muscle cells, brain cells that we use constantly have more of the mitochondria in them to create more energy for them than other cells. So the week before Christmas break, we talked about photosynthesis. We know that it takes in sunlight, it absorbs the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, the plants do, and then they also take in water. They give out what we need to do our cellular respiration, which is oxygen and glucose, which, we do eat plants, so that gives us our glucose as well. Now, solar energy is solar cells convert light energy directly into electrical energy to work your TV, fan, etc. Plants do something similar to this. They convert light energy into chemical energy, which is sugar, which the organisms can use to move, talk, run, etc. So for that sugar that the plants convert from the light energy, we take it and consume it, and that gives us the ability to move, talk, run, and do the things that we do every day. The chloroplast we mentioned in photosynthesis is located inside the plants, mainly in the leaves. They contain chlorophyll, which gives the plants their green color and also allows them to absorb the light energy from the sun and convert it to chemical energy in the form of sugar. So it all happens in the chloroplast in the plant. This process is called photosynthesis. So photosynthesis performed in the chloroplast of the cell. If you look at the equation, it's just reversed from cellular respiration. So the plant takes in carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. That's the reactants. Then the products that it makes from this is glucose, which is sugar, and oxygen that we breathe in. So photosynthesis, like I said, carbon dioxide, water, and light energy gives off sugar and oxygen. Now, chlorophyll is a pigment, and it's the most important pigment presented in plants. From spring to the start of fall, our plants are mainly green. Other pigments are also presented in the leaf. We know that the leaves change colors. And we have carotenoids, which are the orange and red colors, xanthophylls, which is the yellow and brown. So why are plants green? It's because of the light that we see that comes in the spectrum of from purple to red. So it goes all the way from purple to red. The visible light is one of the light waves that comes from the sun. If we did not have the sun and everything was dark, we would not see color. Different substances absorb different colors depending on their structure. Colors that the substance doesn't absorb is reflected. We see that reflection as the object's color. So plants, we see that are green is reflected. It absorbs all the other colors. So like the man in the black suit, we see the black suit because no color is reflected back. All color is absorbed, all that light energy, which is a reason why black heats up very quickly. Also the blue that you see, that means the blue color is reflected and all the others are absorbed. The green and orange frog, all the colors are absorbed except those two colors that reflect back to our eyes and we can see. We have Big Bird over here, which is yellow. All the colors are absorbed except for yellow, and it's reflected back, and we can see that in his color. The trees that get changed color, the pigment in them, when they turn red and orange, absorb all the colors except for red, which is the color that we see. So chlorophyll is a pigment that absorbs blue and red light but reflects green. The light is reflected into our eyes, giving plants a green color. So it has high absorption from purple to blue, and then low absorption, which is reflected in the green, and then it goes on for yellow and red to go back up to high absorption. How do plants use light? Chlorophyll pigments absorb the blue and red regions of the spectrum. They reflect the green regions. So reflecting green light also helps keep the plant cool. Because it can't regulate its temperature like we do, so that helps cool it down. The carotenoids, which is another pigment, other accessory pigments, also absorb light energy. They absorb the green and reflect yellow to red light, depending on what color they are. This gives them a yellowish red color. Why do some leaves turn colors in the fall? There is one other main pigment found in plants, and it's called the xanthophylls. They reflect the yellow and the brown. As the most abundant pigment, chlorophyll is what gives leaves their green color in the spring and summer. So during winter, there is not enough light or water for photosynthesis to happen. Therefore, the trees cut off that circulation of water and nutrients and sugar to the leaves, and the green chlorophyll pigment disappears from the leaves, leaving the other pigments behind. As the green fades away, we see the yellow, oranges, reds, and browns. Small amounts of these colors have been in the leaves all along. We just can't see them because of photosynthesis taking over. And the chlorophyll gives off that green. So if we look at the photosynthesis and cellular respiration as an equation, do you notice anything? We notice that photosynthesis, what is a product, is actually a reactant for us, and carbon dioxide, water, and light energy is a reactant in photosynthesis, but it's a product for us except for the light energy. We just give off energy to ourselves. We take that light energy that the plants use, and they create sugar, which we take and create our own energy. So, to photosynthesize or not to photosynthesize, that is the question. Many organisms cannot photosynthesize. It's only done by plants. They are called consumers. So an organism that obtains its energy from consuming other things or other organisms, that includes us and animals, is a consumer. We consume other things. To obtain usable energy from food, consumers undergo the cellular respiration to break down the food into sugar and energy and carbon dioxide that we use, and we release that carbon dioxide. Photosynthesis life, we completely rely on the sun. If there's no sun, there's no photosynthesis, no food for plants, so no food for animals if the plants die, and no food for larger animals such as us if plants and everything dies, because we can't create food. The animals that eat plants, like cows, would all die, so we wouldn't have hamburger and steak and all that stuff, or beef. So they would die, and then eventually we would die out. So no sun equals no life on Earth. This is the basis behind the dinosaur extinction. A lot of people thought, oh, the asteroid hit the dinosaurs, that's why it killed them. Well, I'm not saying it didn't hit a few. I'm sure if they were standing there when the asteroid hit the Earth, that it killed them. But the biggest impact was what I'm getting ready to get to here in a minute. So a huge asteroid is thought to have hit the Earth near Mexico 65 million years ago, which sent up so much dust that it actually blocked the sun for many years. So there was so much dust and debris up in the atmosphere that it blocked the sun for many years. So there was no food. And for the plant eaters, they eventually died off. And then the carnivores, which eat meat and other animals, then they started dying off because there was no herbivores for them to feed off of. So eventually it was just like a chain reaction. The plants died, then the herbivores died, then the carnivores died. So no sun, no food, no more dinosaurs. Same thing if this happened now. No sun, no food would be eventually created because there was nothing to create it from. I mean, if you think of all the food, plants are highly involved in all the food that we eat and consume. So if they don't have plants, then we don't have animals that we eat the meat from. And even if you're vegetarian or something, you wouldn't have the plants to create the food that you eat. So eventually we would run out of food, and eventually, there would be no life on Earth anymore. But if you all have any questions about photosynthesis or cellular respiration, just remember it's split. Be free to email me or Mr. Smith with your questions, and we'll get back to you, or also feel free to watch this over again. I hope you have a great week. Thanks.